I was smoking stuff. He is mine. So we are back with me, your girl, Miss BJ, Miss Rachel,
Hello.
Mr. Marcus Thorpe.
Yes.
Yes.
He's mine. Let me just repeat it. In case you got any questions.
He is running for the Clayton County Superior Court Judge. Welcome. Now, this is the portion of the show where we get to know more about you. So we have tons of questions because a lot of times people just know when it comes to voting, we just think about president, vice president, mayors. But there's voting when it comes to judges and chairmen and commissioners. So can you kind of tell everybody what is that?
Well, as you pointed out earlier, I am running for Superior Court Judge in Clayton County, and I actually think this is a very important time for Clayton County. We've got 4 Superior Court judges in Clayton. They've been there actually since the early 90s, so this is actually the first time that we will have two new judges. 2 of the 4 are retiring at the end of this current cycle. So it's extremely important, and I think as important as a president. I mean, these are the kind of people that you come before to face criminal charges, as well as Superior Court judges deal with, primarily issues of family law, so divorce, child custody, child support, so all those things that really touch on the family life and what goes on in a person's home. So, what your judge does and who your judge will be is extremely important, I think.
I agree. I mean, it is definitely time. If we've had 4 that have graciously sat for this long, it's time to get some new blood in there.
Exactly. I mean, it's, with the changes that the county has undergone here probably in the last 14, 15 years. I think you're seeing a shift, and hopefully those who take these new seats will, be representative of that shift.
Well, you tell me once you get your seat.
From your lips to God's ears.
Okay.
Yes, because I don't know if you guys heard at the very beginning of the show, I had introduced him as Judge Marcus Thorpe. And I said it just rolls off the tongue. So that might just be what it's supposed to do.
Right.
I'm known for having good luck. So
I've got my fingers crossed.
Make sure to give me a shout out when it happens, because I know it will.
I definitely will. Well, you all are invited to the party. We've actually started finding a place for it, hopefully after May 24th. So I will make sure you all get personal invitations.
Yes. And you guys, it's May 24th. Remember it.
Yes. So can you tell everybody, because we've had other judges and lawyers on the show, and there's different type of judges, like magistrate court. Can you kind of explain the difference between those?
Yeah, of course. So in each county, since this is what we're talking about specifically, you've got various levels. I think the more important ones or more salient to us are probably the magistrate court, state court, and superior court. The biggest difference being, the types of cases they hear and the severity of them. When you start, I guess, at magistrate court, you more or less deal with your smaller civil cases, those that are usually you're unrepresented. 2 individuals have an argument maybe about who owes who a smaller amount of money, landlord-tenant issues, things of that nature. They do deal with some criminal cases, but not the case itself, not the trial, just a portion of it. Whereas state court, then you've got your misdemeanor cases, and they are more or less deal with all your civil cases there, your personal injury actions, medical malpractice. So, you wake up from a surgery and you've got a sponge still inside of you. That's usually where that happens in state court.
Wow.
And then finally in superior court, where I'm running, again, I think largely, having been a former prosecutor there, a large part of that docket is criminal cases, your felonies, your murders, robberies, rapes, all those sorts of things. So a lot of your major cases, and then again, the family law, the divorce, custody, child support, all those sorts of things. But I mean, they're all extremely important.
Wow.
The biggest difference is just the type of law that you immerse yourself in, what you're called upon to deal with.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really
so
cool.
Any lawyer just can't be a judge. You have to run?
Yes. Well, typically, I mean, you can be appointed. So it's really a matter of either going through the appointment process or running. There's people who say one's better than the other. I've actually genuinely enjoyed doing it this way. It's been a long and arduous process. We started this in February 18th of 2015. So it's been a little over a year now, but it's led me to meet some wonderful people like the people I'm sitting by right now. So I know had I gone a different route, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Sustained. Is that right? Well, that's excellent. So let me ask you a question. Of course, with what you're going to do, Superior Court Judge, I know you get faced with a lot of different things that are facing the community, the country, and gun control has been one of those things. So what are your feelings on this new bill where Georgia is considering allowing guns on campus?
I think it's a sort of a swift reaction to what we've had happen here the last year or so on our campuses around the country. Obviously, I'm saddened, much like everyone else, about the things that have happened in Virginia Tech and a couple of other places. But I feel like this is a kind of an overreaction. I do recognize that security is probably difficult on campuses. I'm thinking more or less Georgia State, Clark Atlanta, where you can simply just walk onto the campus.
Right.
I can understand the safety concerns that officials for these schools have about protecting their students. But I guess from the other side of that, the law enforcement side, my concern is now you're making it easy for 5, 10, 15,000 people in an effort to protect themselves who may not be well trained with a weapon to now be on campus with. So I just think it's sort of it's a slippery slope. You're opening itself up to a lot more incidental shootings. People getting shot in the stomach by accident, things like that.
I mean, it's because you see this all the time. You even have people whose kids are shooting.
Exactly.
So, and I'm not saying college students aren't the most mature out there, but I mean, they get in arguments with a dorm mate over pizza or leftover fish sandwich.
Alcohol and
BJ.
guns can't be a good mix.
If you broke and that's my fish sandwich, you going down. But I'm just saying. But you're right. Like, I mean, I really think maybe they can go in another direction. What happened to tasers? How do we go straight from slapping somebody to shooting them? Can't we have a taser or some batons
and mace and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's got to be, I think, a better way to go about doing this. I completely understand the concern for the safety and what's happened to a lot of people on campuses recently. But it seems like we're really overreacting. And, I haven't read the bill for some time, but I guess my next question would be, too, are we limiting the types of guns? I mean, is the next person going to have an AK?
Right.
In the middle of the food court? So.
Right. And then if you can't afford the right kind of gun, then that's not fair. They have more money. They have a bigger gun. I want the kind of gun they have.
Exactly.
All right. So how do you feel about when officers should be allowed in the grand jury process?
Well, I didn't know this until probably the last 6 months or so, but Georgia is actually one of the last states that still allows its police officers to come into the grand jury room. And so, for those that don't know, the grand jury process is after an arrest has been made by the police. It is one of two ways in which the citizens of the community actually are involved in what charges will be brought by the district attorney or the solicitor general, typically the district attorney's office. But as we were talking about earlier, the state of Georgia is one of the few states that still allows during that process, with the citizens considering what charges to bring, the police officer to come in and give his side of the story. I tend to believe, having seen it, it's a little unfair. It definitely gives them an advantage. I understand the theory behind it. These are people who put their lives on the line day in and day out, and I respect a lot of them. I actually have a lot of great friends who are officers. But when you are at a point where you're being alleged to have committed a crime, I don't know that you should be treated any differently than anyone else at that point. We talk about equality all the time. We just finished Black History Month, so that's an important thing. And so I think it's giving a tad bit too much respect to the officers and what they've gone through, to simply allow them to come in to sort of shape that story so early on.
Right.
Yeah.
And then now they've gotten their story out there, and whether the community chooses to prosecute them or not at that point, as a defense attorney, I would be thinking, hey, we've already sort of set the stage for how we're going to defend this case. So I do think it gives them kind of an unfair advantage, and especially with a lot of the shootings we've had lately. I think the citizens of these various counties deserve the opportunity to hear it unbiased.
Exactly.
And really get an idea of what had happened without hearing one side and not being able to hear the other.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I agree.
All right, so we have to go to a quick musical break, and I want you to stay here with us because we have some stories in the media, and we want a legal perspective from it. But before we go, can you tell everybody where they can find out more information about you and your campaign?
Yes, you definitely can find. Again, the name is Marcus Thorpe, MarcusThorpe. You can join us at my website, marcusthorpe.com. We're also on Facebook, Marcus Thorpe for Judge. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. You can find me everywhere. Please come out, vote May 24th. And even more important, early voting will start early May. And so there's going to be some conflict in Clayton County with certain students graduating on May 24th. So, if you can't be there May 24th, please try to get out early and make it all the way down the ballot, because this is an important time, historical time shooting to be the first African American male in Superior Court in Clayton County.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, guys, you're listening to The Real with Rachel D. And make sure you keep it here. We have more show coming up. But first, it's Little Mix. Salutes.